Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This is the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again with your host Nick Scopes and the Gregolicious. You know how we do, cause you know we keeping it gangster and silly. Unplugged like a full swung titty. About get jitty, cause you know we down to the nitty and the gritty. And we make shit sound so damn pretty. Yeah, cause this unhinged comedy. And right now you're in the mix. So get ready, cause we about to get it poppin'. And we ain't stopping. Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again. Yeah, we at it again. Uneducated, unfiltered.
Turn it off, Greg. Jesus Christ. Fucking, oh
That's
man.
not
Now
the end point.
now
yet,
I'm mad.
dude.
No, it is. Usually you turn it down. I'm pissed. That's it. Hello and welcome to the Mangina Dialogues. I am your new solo host, Nick Scopes.
And I am your other apparently fired host, G.A. Single.
Turn down the music when I fucking tell you to.
Oh, we snapped
Our guest, I'm sorry. Our guest today is a stand-up comedian and apparently the world's biggest Harry Potter fan.
Okay, that's not
Jessica
even true.
Singleton, what's up?
Okay.
Listen, you're an adult. We saw your cup. You have a whole setup in your house.
It's a
Don't
backdrop for my
downplay it.
podcast where we happen to be talking about Harry Potter. And am I a fan of the work? Yes, but I don't need a bunch of social justice trolls sending me memes about how J.K. Rowling is a monster or what. Like, this is all I have from my childhood. Let me have it.
I remember hearing what exactly did J.K. Rowling do or not do? Or
Here's the thing. We were already like 2 books in, and apparently she said something that was like, maybe I haven't found the actual thing she said, because what I found is that she said it's important to emphasize that the experience of cis-born women and transgendered women is a different experience. And that though they are both women, the experience is different.
So when you're saying...
But according to Twitter, she said trans women can die in a fire. Like, I don't know. There's probably something I'm missing. I don't understand it, but we have to constantly make a point of like, yeah, fuck J.K. Rowling or whatever. Now let's talk about these dragons. Like,
She's saying women that are born as women have it different than men who transition to women and become.
Yes.
In what like regard, really? Just like
I don't know. There's this whole thing about TERFs, which is Trans-Exclusionary Radical Feminism. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
Never, not till right now.
I thought this was just a woman that wrote a book about a bunch of wizards.
It was. And then she decided to comment on something, and now people are trying to take the wizards away from me personally.
They can't ever take the wizards away.
The place I draw a line on my my civil and social justice work is to go like, yeah, cool. I'm not going to not think wizards are cool. Like, I'm not going to stop liking wizards because I respect you. I'll march with you. I'll sign your petition. Tell me where the actual action that I can help you is. You're not fucking, I want to read about broomsticks flying. Like,
yeah, that's like the guy who started CrossFit, Coach Glassman. It's a Jewish fella. When the Black Lives Matter thing started to happen, he was like, yeah, like, we get it. Like, Jews have been through some stuff too. It was like,
and people got mad.
People got mad, and I was like, well, he's not wrong.
No, I mean, it's happened a lot in
a pretty well-documented history of being fucked with badly.
Nobody wants their thing compared to. Everybody is like, my trauma is the worst because for you it is. Like, of course, right. The trauma that happened to you does feel like is worse than what happened to someone that's not you. But like, it's a lot of misguided anger, I think, especially people at the time and still now were like pent up in their houses. So cancel culture has reached like a pinnacle because people have so much time.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
So all their anger about not having a job and not leaving the house is now like, let's get this lady. Like,
although I got to tell you, in the last, like, I don't know, 8 days, 9 days, 10, 12 days, it seems like there's a lot less noise on Twitter for some reason.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know if there's some big thing happened in the world,
Like
but
some sort of big change in
Yeah, I don't
power.
know.
Yeah, it was about a week ago.
Yeah,
me
it
see,
is
yeah.
like, it's nice to have, I think even like political viewpoints notwithstanding, I am glad we have a boring president. I'm like, good. I don't want to know what you're thinking.
yeah.
Yeah,
At every minute.
Yeah, unless it's like affecting me and my like well-being and my future, like directly.
Yeah, exactly. I told people like I'm openly not a Trump supporter, but like in the beginning I was like, this dude's fucking hilarious. And like
I think a lot of people made
like it was great, and then it got to a point where it's like not funny anymore. It's not funny.
So it's like
you
killed the
gotta
bit,
reel
man.
it in, man. You gotta fucking pull it together. This is not
Everybody's
funny.
in the snake at some point.
Yeah, it was like,
and it happens.
Nope.
Yeah, it happens on both sides too. I think all that like people canceling other people for trying to be understanding and saying the wrong thing is like, okay, maybe go after the person who's actively like against you instead of the person who's like, I get it, this thing, and they're like, let's get him instead of the police.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting I to see how all this shit develops with, the one, well, not the one, but one of the bazillion bad things that have come out of the last 4 years, I think, is that the social media attacks that seem to be okay are just rampant. I think it's what led to a lot of this cancel culture is just that he was so grossly like out there on Twitter and every other place and would say ridiculous things that it made it okay for anyone to go on anything they want and say and do anything they want with no level of accuracy or truth to it.
No, it's people are crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's sick. It really is. I hope it calms down. I think
it will.
I think it will. I hope it does, especially for comedians, because it's so ridiculous to hold people accountable for something they say on stage as a fucking joke.
Oh, absolutely. Especially like holding someone accountable for like a thought of, well, what about if somebody thinks like this? Or like just diving into a topic in terms of just mining your thoughts and people attaching you saying something as like your point of view. And that's really who you are. And you're like, what? No.
Yeah. It's like, it's similar, like if people held Leonardo DiCaprio to a standard because he was, he played the guy in Django Unchained, slave owner that killed all these people. And
I'm sure there are people somewhere deep on Twitter who have tried to.
Oh, I'm probably for everything, but it's not like there has been a movement to extricate him from Hollywood.
Of course, but it's like people are just so fucking bored. And then this idea of like, I hate being the person who goes like censorship because there's, I think, this cartoon image of like, a QAnon MAGA person being like, don't censor me. And they have like a gun in their butt or whatever. But
that's my favorite like, cartoon, by the way.
Yeah, I'm all about guns in the butts.
Guns in the butts is one of my favorite things of all time, I think.
It's Nick's new country song. Anyway.
Hey, fuck you. Don't steal my thunder. That's my next album.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Like, obviously, you're a stand-up. We know that.
I am.
You have podcasts, but you told us off air that you have a country song coming out.
I do. I wrote a country song. Listen, I'm trash. I don't know what I'm supposed to tell you. I've spent years like, I'm basically like, have been a closeted country fan. Like, no, whatever. Like, it's okay. I'm obsessed with it. I grew up I was born in Germany, but we moved to Mississippi when I was like 3. And then, yeah, it's a whole different thing. It's like just going from one racist place to another.
Well, at 3 years old, you probably didn't have a lot of experience with the racism and stuff in Germany.
No, especially being blonde and white in
right.
Or
Mississippi,
like,
I bet.
What racism? I don't see it. As I'm just like swinging from a magnolia tree. And then from Mississippi, my mom, when I was in 6th grade, drove us to Alaska to live.
Whoa.
After my dad abandoned me in a Waffle House, which sounds like a country song. And I've heard that a million times. Alaska's a very country place. So I just grew up on it. And for a long time, I just always wanted to do it. It's kind of a bucket list thing.
Wait, we got to go back to the Waffle House. So
We definitely have.
I saw that bit on your website. I didn't realize that actually is a true story. So
yeah, it's dad got into meth. I was gonna try to like dance around that, but I don't know. It just I was like 8. He went to the car, got my wallet, and left. And it wasn't the last time I saw him. He like came back in our lives and then left again. My parents had a very tumultuous marriage and split up. But I would say that probably factors into my path to becoming a comedian.
Yeah. So
for sure.
I think, the natural question is, like, were you guys Waffle House people, or were you like international house?
I've always been more of a pancake person. It's honestly, it was devastating to be left there.
Yeah, I was just saying that's the traumatic part. Really,
from then on, Denny's only.
Yeah, like, if it were an IHOP, would have been different. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been like, thank you. It also speaks miles to how he felt about, I think, my family and my mother, is that he thought it was a better option to abandon me in a Waffle House than to just leave me at home. So
you guys moved here from Germany and then he developed this drug problem?
Yeah, he was in the military and he retired, and then he got jobs. I remember being, as a kid, I thought like, oh, my dad's so versatile. He has all these jobs. And it was like, he couldn't keep a job, is what that was. I was like, he was a security guard and then he worked at Walmart. And it's like, this is not, you look back and you go, was not versatility. He got a job at a shipyard in Mississippi, obviously. And it was like rampant with drug users. And I think it just, he made some wrong choices or right choices. I've never done meth. It seems like it's very fun.
Yeah. And
people are willing to just claw their skin off to get more of it. So it must feel nice.
So let's get back to the country song, getting back,
Yes.
Waffle House prior. So how did that come to be? What's it about? Like, what do you hope to do with it?
I originally was going to release it under like a character or pseudonym. And I think that's because I was like embarrassed or just thought, I don't want people to, it's a song that has like funny elements, but I didn't want people to think I was doing musical comedy.
Right.
Like I didn't want people to think like, oh, she's a musical comedian now.
Yeah.
She's Weird Al.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Cause it's like got a couple lines that I think are humorous, but it's just a country song that has some like funny lines. But my boyfriend is a musician and he like is in a relatively successful band, and I did a thing that's probably monstrous now thinking about that as a comedian. Like I would never want to date someone who wasn't a comedian, and it's like, well, help me get 5 minutes together. But that's what I did. I was like, I've always wanted to make a
yeah.
Could we do that? I would like to. That would be fun. Just.
He's like, oh, you want to do what I do? Really?
Yeah. And I think I just wore him down. I just kept being like, wouldn't that be, I mean, what could it hurt? Like.
Then you bring up the Waffle House thing. You're like, my dad left me. Can you just help me write a song?
No, it did. It's funny because shortly after we started writing the song, my dad died. And then he died last year, not to bring the mood way down even further. And I actually flew and like was able to see him and like reconnect with him. It had been a long time, and like it was as good as anything could have been.
Yeah.
Someone's death, a preventable death. But as far as getting your last moments and everything. But then he couldn't back out of it, It's like, well, we have to keep making it. My dad died. Although I mentioned the Waffle House thing in the song. So I was like, what an homage to my dad to be like, remember that? So, I mean, between my boyfriend and he asked a friend who is a music producer who he's worked with, who is like very professional, very expensive, like to do him this favor.
Wow.
I cannot imagine him going like what he said to be like, look, man, she sucks my dick. Like, can you just do me a solid? Like,
I'm madly in love with her. Please help.
Please.
I want to keep her around.
If we do this, maybe she'll shut up about it.
I've been looking for a girl from Germany who came to the South and loves Harry Potter, and I don't want to let her go.
Where am I going to find such a gem?
Yeah.
A psych ward, probably.
In Alaska.
Right. And so and his friend had worked with country artists. So he's like, okay, cool. Let's just meet and we'll have like a session to talk about an idea for a song. And I came with a little nugget of an idea and we wrote a whole like first round of a song. And that was a few months ago. And then we finally, just last night, did the like tweaks and the little lyric changes and re-recorded.
So it's not out yet.
It's not.
Okay, I was on my Spotify. I was about to look it up.
No, but it will be at JMS Comedy. Jessica Michelle Singleton. I have a Spotify. You can. I wonder how that's gonna fuck up people's algorithm if I'm in their Spotify for comedy, and then they're like, "What in the fuck is this? Why is this?" And they're all gonna block me. Everyone's gonna be like, "Fuck you."
That's funny.
So I'm on your Spotify right now, and one of your jokes is sex stuff.
Yeah, and there's more sex stuff.
I love this. I love it already.
It was my first album, and like I know there is this.
It's called
sort
Please
of like
Don't Leave Me.
Literally.
Dude, you're the best. This is so
Stop.
good.
I just leave because people always. There's a lot of people that will go like, "Oh, all female comics talk about is sex and their pussies." So I was like, "Yeah, that's what this is."
So sex. You doubled down.
And they're like, "Yeah, got bad news. Maybe if someone could make me come a little harder, I'd shut the fuck up. But until then." And now I like to think I've evolved, but I haven't.
Has Music Boyfriend done that for you, or what?
He's been a saving grace, and now I'm not funny anymore. It's ruined me. I have nothing to talk about.
Okay, well, wait a minute. I need to dig more into this country song. So what's it called?
I'm on the fence with two names, but I think I'm gonna go with Now I Need a Whiskey.
Now I need a. You can't go wrong with whiskey in a country song name. You can't. Like,
that was an anchor of.
It's called sex stuff. Just keep it consistent.
Sex stuff.
Sex stuff.
Sex stuff 3. It's a good
even more sex stuff.
And
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So, if you're comfortable saying, if you don't want, you don't have to. But what band is your boyfriend in? Like, or what?
They're a band. It's alt rock. It's a band called the Mowglis. So they're like, they're not like obviously that's not One Direction or whatever. That's not that they're alt rock, I think, but they're not like A-list rock stars, but they're like a working headlining band they've had like some songs on the radio. He's actually moving into like a new project that's sort of sprang up.
That's cool.
He's working on, but they headline. They're on par with like. They did that, I guess, as an example to tell you who they are if you're not familiar with them. Do you know Plain White Tees?
Yeah, of course.
They did a like triple headlining tour.
Oh, that's cool.
So like they're at that level for people who are like, in the alt rock music world.
Is this them?
That is them.
Where is
he? He's the one on the left, I think. What if I was like, he's just the one in the Hawaiian shirt? I
get it. He's hot. He's a hot dude.
I can't even tell. Wait, can you show me again? What if I pointed out the wrong one? Yeah, no, that's him. Yeah, okay. He's the one on the left. Okay.
I can't even see that.
They have 1.3 million monthly listeners. That's
they're doing okay. They're.
And how'd you two crazy kids meet? Around the country western bars, slinging back some whiskey?
Yeah, that's loitering in
Saddle Ranch. You guys hanging around the Saddle Ranch, Sunset.
Hinge, actually. The
wow.
dating app.
Good old Hinge.
I know. I was adamantly against dating apps, and then was nearly bullied by some of my friends so that I would stop dating comedians. They're like, you have to do something else. Yeah. You've got to stop.
Yeah, you went to Jay. You're like, all right, comedian. I'm gonna go to musician.
I know. I did. I was like, that was also like a factor in me wanting to like. In the interest was like, he'll get the lifestyle, because that's the thing is like, I can't go on the road for weeks at a time. I mean, I can, but finding like an accountant who's gonna be like, all right, I'll see you in a month.
Yeah, right.
Or like someone with a day job being like, yeah, cool, I could hang out with you once a week because I work at night. So
yeah, that was exactly what I was gonna say too. An accountant. That's like the complete opposite of.
No, and I also couldn't like barge in at 2 a.m. and be like, what if there was a clown and he was like just with some weird idea? Like, hear me out. There's a hot air balloon, a buffalo, and they're like, wait, no. Musicians will, I think artists will at least humor your
absolutely
weird ideas.
For sure.
That's pretty cool. That's funny and hinge.
Yeah. So we'll see if I'm not like ostracized from the entire comedy community after.
This will be great. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to hear it.
All right, so let's we can get away from the country song.
No, I start singing.
It's funny. Me and Nick had on a country western singer.
Who?
Josh Abbott. Do you know Josh Abbott?
Oh my God! No, I don't know who that is, but I'm sure that's great.
He's
I'm gonna look him up.
He's great. He really is very good.
And I don't like country music.
He's an Austin guy. Like he performed. He's from like major national country, not major, but big enough country, national touring act. And Nick. Literally, when I brought it up, he was like, I hate country. He's like, why are we doing this? Like, I don't want to have a country guy on. And I'm like, let's just do it. What the fuck? It's like, we had some music guys on and we did. And now Nick cannot say he hates country music because he likes Josh's band, which means it's opened him up to more country music, which I think
you just got to find the right. I think there's a lot of people who never go to country music because they hear the stereotype of country music, which, by the way, has happened. Anytime I think I'm going to introduce a friend, no, country music's not that bad, and I turn on the radio, it's always like, Grandpa, and you're like, why? Like,
why now? I know. I'll tell you.
My beer and my grandpa, and you're like, I don't. It's not
my one guilty pleasure, I will say, before I heard Josh's band was Rascal Flatts for some reason.
Rascal Flatts is great country music.
I just think it's good music. Like and again, I've said this on the podcast we did with him, but my father's a musician. My father's a drummer.
Oh, so my boyfriend.
There you go. But my dad, likes no, in his words, white people music. He doesn't like any of that shit. It's all like Earth, Wind, and Fire and like Teddy Pendergrass and Luther Vandross. But my dad always says that country artists are some of the best musicians and best singers you'll ever hear in your life. And he was like he watches the country music awards.
I love it.
He's like, they're so talented. He goes, they're great. He goes, I won't listen to it all the time, but they're great.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
He's like, they're great. He only watches Jimmy Allen, who's like a black country singer. And he's like,
probably.
That pop country music, it depends on what you consider it, but Rascal Flatts is obviously more mainstream country than some of the other stuff, but there's a good party element to a lot of that country music, and not in a cheesy way, in that's kind of a fun, tailgate, like whoop it up, Kid Rock kind of way.
Absolutely. And even if it is like a little cheesy, if you can get into it for what it is and just go, there's some things that I don't love either. Like Brad Paisley, we like get it. You're funny.
Yes.
Like you can stop every song. And I say this as someone who is doing the exact opposite. So I'm a piece of shit, by being like, and check out my country music. But everything I hear of his on the radio is like a bit. Like the first song he came out with was I'm Gonna Miss Her, which is about his wife asking him to choose between him and constantly going fishing. And he's like, I'm gonna miss her. And just like, take that. But I don't know. And
my God.
All right, enough country. No more
country. Nick's gonna kill himself.
He might just.
That's the plan.
Dive off his second.
I mean, yeah, that's the ultimate plan for all of us, isn't it?
All right, let's talk about your comedy, which is why you're here.
Yay!
So, how'd you get into comedy out of Mississippi? Like
Alaska?
Well, I actually started comedy in college in Florida. Well,
got a lot of Florida comedy.
I mean, barely. I did it a few times and was like, I'm moving to LA. Like I, for a long time would say I started in LA because I really started like going after it and like doing, like 4 and 5 mics a night and like being obsessed with it when I moved out here. But I was always like class clown type of vibe and not always, but my last couple of years of high school, I was just mostly just openly an asshole and people were like, it's funny. So I kind of
story of my life.
I think throughout college I was like same vibe, and I was like always fucking a maniac person at like parties and social gatherings and whatever, but I was like, oh, I'm going to be a comedian. College is my backup plan. It was just like this thing I said all the time. And then by my last semester, I was like, I guess I should like try doing comedy. I keep being like, I'm going to be a comedian. Like that's just going to fall out of the sky.
Yeah, right.
I mean, did I blindly send a character reel to SNL? Yes, absolutely. They never saw it, and they're probably like, have my name on a list of crazy people. But like,
yeah, don't accept mail from this lady.
The confidence I had back then versus
no
like now
lists.
being like. So I just did a couple open mics in Florida, saved up money, and was debating between New York and LA, and got the opportunity to visit LA. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that I grew up in Alaska, and if I never saw a snowflake again, I would be fine. So let's do LA. And then the rest is not history. I guess it is, but I came out here and did all the open mics. And I think I'm like maybe 3 years in, I started getting a bunch of festivals. Enough festivals that I didn't have the paid time off for my job anymore. So I left my job and then became one of those weird like Lyft driving comedians.
No way, really?
The worst Lyft driver on earth.
Did you get bits out of it?
No, I didn't get any.
Really?
I think I had one interesting person, and they were interesting because they fell asleep and like I couldn't wake them up because they were so drunk. But like, it was just kind of the thing I guess I could have made a bit out of is the amount of people that go, aren't you afraid to be driving alone with strangers as a woman? Because I'm like, what, are you going to murder me? Like, why would you, is your thought, oh, a woman who's alone, I should kill her.
Yeah, all the time. That's my thought.
It is funny because I used to be in LA a lot, and every driver, they would obviously talk to you, and you're in a car alone with someone for anywhere from 5 minutes to, if you're going to LAX, could be 3 days. So, you're just trying to be nice and talk. So many of the drivers that I got in cars with, of course, were somehow related to the entertainment business, whether they were, grips or something, and they were just supplementing the non-work with driving.
Yeah.
Right. So I imagine as a comedian that I just would have thought that you would have got like buckets of material from assholes who get in your cab to start, hitting on you, and then the drunk whatever's like that. It just seems like there'd be good material, but I guess.
I'm sure I could have mined some of it from material. I just never did. And it also felt like in the like local scene of watching people, I was, coming up with workout material. Other people were doing material, and I was like, I don't want to be like another person doing that jokes.
Yeah.
But I thought, if something major had happened that I thought was funny, which maybe isn't the move. There's plenty of comedy to be mined in everyday experiences.
Sure.
But
sure.
No, I actually got hit on more by Lyft drivers than I did as a Lyft.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, of course. That's why I keep telling Nick he should do Lyft. He'd have an endless.
You know what you need to do? Well, you can't now. Here's what I've heard is good for meeting chicks. Uber pool.
Yeah.
You just like strike up a conversation. But is that even a thing anymore?
I don't think it is. I think it's done. I don't think the share is a thing. I actually pitched a production company a non-scripted series based on Uber pool.
That would have been fun.
And we actually pursued it a little bit, and it was just like, obviously you would have needed way too many clearances and every single person that gets in, and it was a nightmare, so we dropped it. But I think it's a great idea if Uber pool ever does come back. Like, that would be so funny. It would be that version of Taxi Cab Confessions, but
with like two strangers.
Yeah, with two strangers. Like,
I think it'd be great.
I used to love Taxi Cab Confessions as a show.
Oh, dude, that was
great.
The best.
Yeah, you're always waiting for like, are they gonna hook up? Is he gonna, kill her? Is she gonna kill him? Like, what's about to happen in this?
What's going on?
Like, what's the story? All right, so you're in LA. You're now like a working comedian. Like, where you got passed first? Where, at the Comedy Store?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, the Comedy Store passed me in 2017. 2016, one of those. Shit, right. I should know that.
And how often are you getting up there?
I started going there like after being in LA for a year. I would go and sign up for the
open mic,
the potluck, and it's so much of it is like luck of the draw, even like getting noticed there as far as comedy. Cause like, the potluck, they used to do 2 days a week. Then it moved to 1 day a week. There's 15 slots for new people, hundreds of people.
Yeah,
like sometimes over 200 people sign up.
Sometimes. Yeah, I know. I've seen it. It's crazy.
And then whoever's hosting, usually they have the power to get a couple people they want, like their friends.
Right.
So then you're looking at 12 spots. I'm probably not supposed to tell you that. I'm supposed to be like, it's Comedy Store doesn't care if you know that. No, it's not fair to you. It's not. This isn't a socialist comedy show.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever. Well, there are probably comedians that work there that would probably literally say that. But so I just, when I finally got up, I remember I did like my best material. And then the host who was on stage like made a joke about me or whatever. And I just made sure to like keep coming back. And it was the thing where when the booker at the time was a guy named Tommy, and he helped make the list, and he kind of would like keep an eye on people he thought were funny. And so once they noticed you, if you were funny, you start getting those spots a little more frequently. I wouldn't be on every week on the potluck list, but like every couple weeks. And then all of a sudden it was like, anytime I signed up, I was on. And the further you move down the list is like sort of like the better you are. So like the later you are in the 15, it's sort of like, but it was so mysterious. Like that, like even becoming a paid regular, when he ran it, it was this really weird, like what he would go to someone one day and be like, "You're a past now." Like, no.
Big ceremony.
Yeah, no, it was just like everyone waiting for like, I think at any point he could pass me. And you go from signing up for open mic and eventually they move you into what is called development or unpaid regulars is I think what people in development call themselves to. It's like as a way to being like, no, like I'm a regular. Like I think I did it too. And it's like, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, fine. And you call in your avails every week. And they have in the belly room, and when they do outside produced shows in the main room, so the ones not booked by the Comedy Store, anyone who has a show is required to put on development spots, a certain number. So you would get, one of those spots. And then of course there was the stories of, when you do the spot in this room at this show, that means like they really like you, because there used to be like a 7:00 original room show that was an outside produced show on Fridays. And that was sort of the last, like, once you get there, they're really looking at you, I mean, there must have been at least 50 people at the time. I feel like I could get past at any moment who were thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
They were like, it seems like Tommy really likes me and I get a lot of spots. And then Tommy got fired for like stealing money or something. Like, what are you?
Good.
But then they brought in Adam, who was a manager at the club already. And he knew me just from being at the club. He had already seen my stuff. So I think I got lucky in that there was this, Adam still like goes and like looks at shows and, tries to see new people. Or if he gets someone recommended by a paid regular and they're like, you got to check this person out, he will. But Tommy used to like loiter in the room and watch everybody. And like, he wanted to be like, have this sense of power and that I'm watching everyone. And Adam is like, I'm working on the lineups. I'm doing shit. Like, I'm not going to stay here and sift through a pile of shit to find a diamond, which is a shitty, he's never said that sentence, by the way, in case anyone wants to run away with that. But like, he's like, I'm not going to stay in the room for the whole open mic for a bunch of people who some of them were randomly drawn. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, but I got lucky in that there was this handful of us that I think for the most part, all of those people have since been passed that he knew that he already thought was funny.
Right.
Were funny, excuse me. And he started doing showcases instead of it being this magical thing. He would put 5 comics in the middle of an OR lineup, which was fucking hell. All these like heavy hitters doing 15-minute sets. And then it's like Bill Burr just went up and now I have to do 5 minutes. Fun. Great. Yeah.
Lucky me.
What is that like? Like, are you just shitting yourself like backstage and like?
You know what? At that point, like brand new, yes. But now I have hit a point of, because I mean, rarely, I'm usually late enough in the lineup that rarely am I right after like a Rogan or a Bill Burr but sometimes someone's not there and I'm there early and they go, oh, the next people aren't here. Do you want to just go up after so-and-so? I've learned to just accept it for what it is. First of all, like go in and try to ride their energy, but just know you're going to have to like reset the room a little or acknowledge like, yeah, I know that you just saw Joe Rogan and who the fuck am I? Like, what is this? The janitor came to like clean up the stage. Like, but you know, you learn to roll with it. And I think there's something to be said about, you know, like how you go on stage as far as your mindset can affects your set. So if you go up really nervous, it fucks with you. And like getting to get over the like, oh, I'm gonna bomb, that mentality of like, because someone's so great, you're definitely gonna suck or definitely gonna like be fucked up is, I've just tried to like get rid of that and gone like, okay, cool. What an opportunity to grow. And like,
no, that's exactly how you should look at it.
And just try to like, I mean, it's absolutely delusional to go, all right, I'm going to fucking do just as good as Bill Burr just did. But like going up with that mindset, like it's a challenge to yourself, will make you do better than you would have done without, you know, if you were just like, oh no.
Yeah.
What do you think, like from your perspective, is more challenging, going up after someone of that, you know, like that, the hugest of the heaviest hitters, or being the first or second person on the lineup when the crowd is sitting there waiting for 7 of the heaviest hitters to come up on stage and they're just counting those 15 minutes to go by until, you know, it's Rogan, Hinchcliffe, you know, D'Elia, Annie, you know, those crazy list of people. Marin,
it's hard. Like, it's hard to say. I think honestly, with the Comedy Store is such a unique scenario that like I think going up a little early is a little easier, because even though people are waiting on those people, they kind of have this mindset of like, they know that person's not going to come out first. Right. Let's get excited for the show. And whereas when they leave, especially if it's like, you know, it's one thing if someone comes for just like the lineup or the chunk of people that's probably going to be the heavy hitters. But if they come for someone specific and you're after that specific someone, like the longer you are after that person, the more people are like, well, I kind of got what I came for.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's like you're like expecting a guy to hang out with you after he comes. It's like, no, I came. So I'm going to eat and go to bed. Like, I don't want to talk anymore.
Where's the mac and cheese? I got to.
Yeah. Like, so it's, and the longer you're away from them, the more you're like, you get in your head about like, is the person in front of me going to walk a bunch of people? And it's never that person's fault. People are tired. They've seen it's not so-and-so. Okay. Sometimes it is. Sometimes somebody did like eat a fat dick and you're like, you ruined the room.
Yeah. Right.
And I've been that person, you know, as much as I'm saying that, like I have gone like, let me get experimental and been like, well, I really want to try that thing that I wasn't sure about. And it definitely didn't work. I'm sorry you're after me. But it's like the longer you're away from them, the more you're just kind of like, it's like trying to get the little like crumbs when you're at the end of the lineup. Like, I hope that guy who's really laughing really hard, like stays, or like, I hope, but it's just how it goes. Right.
So let's, before, I mean, we talked about so much random stuff, obviously awesome comedy stuff, but let's talk about your podcast before we go. Like,
oh, absolutely.
A couple podcasts that you're rolling with, 2 totally different things.
Yes. I'm all over the map, as you can clearly tell.
So
go ahead.
No, you go. Go ahead.
Oh no, I talk so fucking much. I think that's obvious.
No, that's the whole point of us.
A podcast. I know. I never understand when I have a guest that goes, sorry if I talk that much. But then when I talk a lot on podcasts, I'm like, I'm prescribed to ADHD medication, and sometimes it makes me talk a lot. Yeah, I have 2 podcasts. One's called Two Filthy Nerds. I co-host it with another great comedian, Nicole Amy Schreiber. And we deep dive into nerd stuff. So we've been in a very long Harry Potter season. and we're on book 7 finally. And currently with our patrons, we have, of course, a Patreon because we're all anything to make money in this goddamn climate. Subscribe. No, we're voting on where we're gonna go next, so we've narrowed it down to a couple different series. But it's just like us diving into it.
What are you now? What are the?
We are narrowed down to Dark Tower. It's the Stephen King Dark Tower series, but there's also a show around it. Indiana Jones, which would not involve any books. We would just watch the movies.
Yep.
Marvel, again, we wouldn't do the comic books because it's just, that would become the whole podcast. So we would just do all the movies probably in chronological order.
All of them? That's what are you going to have? It's 77?
27.
Holy moly.
Yeah, I think there's 26 or 27 Marvel movies. Yeah, so that would be, but we've done Harry Potter, and we're coming up on a season that's lasted a year. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
and it started because we were originally just like, let's make a shit talk podcast. There's so many with male comics, but there's really not that many like good ones.
So what's in the lead? What's in the lead with the vote?
Right now, I actually am supposed to tweet something because it's patrons only, but we're doing this thing where like, but if you guys send us $1, you can like muck up the vote by like voting for one of these. So I'm going to post that on the Twitter at some point, but it's very close between, the fourth thing is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And right now and we've had it in brackets. So it's actually technically Dark Tower versus Indiana Jones, Marvel versus Hitchhiker's Guide. And it's looking like it's going to be Indiana Jones and Hitchhiker's Guide.
Wow.
To vote between. So the whole thing is she had never read Harry Potter. So we got to like, we started it November 2019, just shooting the shit, talking about what's going on in the news and like what's going on in our lives. And then quarantine happened and we were like, this is very quickly going to become a very depressing podcast if we don't come up with something. Yeah. So she had never read Harry Potter. I am a loser and would like play pretend Harry Potter in my front yard alone with no friends as a child. Like I was like deeply invested.
Wow.
So I was like, why don't we just read that for the first time? And so now it's become this thing where one of us, it's all stuff that one of us hasn't experienced.
Yep.
Or we bring in a guest, like sometimes we'll have guest hosts in who are the expert, or like we love something, they haven't seen it. Because we've done one-offs of movies and shit. But it's fun. It's just kind of like ruining childhood things with our disgusting, filthy humor, but
it's great.
We have fun.
I mean, if Marvel would somehow come out as the dark horse and pull this off, you guys are going to have at least 3 years worth of material. I mean, there's
that's what
so much coming down in the next 2 years with Marvel that
because they've got the Black Widow. There's
absurd.
There's so many.
It's ridiculous how much is coming out between Marvel, cinematic, the Marvel Cinematic Universe for like full release movies, just Disney Plus stuff. I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy. And it's like one of those things where like assuming that we just continue doing this podcast, it's inevitable that we're going to do it at some point. So that'll come.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you can't be like, we're nerds, but nothing from Marvel.
You'll be old ladies. You'll finally
get I know. That's what's like, we'll be like 75 and be like, oh, look at Ant-Man's butt, or whatever. But
so good. And then what's the other podcast?
Yeah, and then my other podcast. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say the other one. Go ahead.
It's just called Ignorance is #blessed. I know that's wrong in case anyone is like, that's not the phrase. It's a society and culture podcast. Like the tagline is like a podcast that attempts to overcome ignorance, mostly by asking ignorant questions. But basically I have people on and I ask them just all about whatever their thing is, whatever the topic, but like with sort of the caveat of like, I'm not going to be afraid to ask you a really embarrassing question that you would think is like stupid in case somebody else has it. And then like, we don't have to like now, Jimbo, who lives in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, doesn't have to wonder what a transgender is. What's a transgender? Like you just go, oh, okay, well, they seem like a nice person.
Show her what a transgender is.
Show up. Show them. They, her, him, sir.
Show them.
That's the one you did from the window at the Comedy Store.
Yeah, what a mistake, by the way. That like, and they didn't say it was a mistake. No one at the Comedy Store has been like, oh, we really probably shouldn't have streamed that. But in retrospect, I had on my friend Madison Shepard, amazing comedian. She's from the LA scene, coming up here, and was just actually at the beginning of pandemic getting into like smaller road gig headlining, like really getting her bearings. And I had her come on and talk about sobriety.
Yeah.
I thought an amazing interview, but pretty serious. It took a serious turn, or just tone overall. And then I fucking lost. My dad died like literally that week, and I lost the audio. So this interview is just lost in space anyway. But I feel like they were live streaming it to like Comedy Store shit. I'm in the window. So people are coming, like the Comedy Store. And I'm like, so what was your rock bottom? You know, like Barbara Walters. And people are like, I mean, I assume maybe it pushed some of the drink sales that night when we had the outdoor patio guests. They're like, I need more. I'm not drunk enough for this talk about sobriety. But they have also asked me to send them, they're wanting to like put it out on the Twitch, and they're like, no, it's fine. It's good interviews. And I'm like, I just don't know if I want people coming for Comedy Store to think it's hard. You know, I don't mind people thinking I'm not funny all the time as a general human, but people are it's so quick to want to like put things in boxes that if they see comedy and then you're being serious, they're just like, well, she's not funny.
Right.
Like,
that's true. Yeah, people. Yeah. They think it's one thing. Yeah, they don't know.
It's a whole thing. But that's a good one. I like it, and I've gotten to learn a lot just organically through it, and got some cool guests. So it's been fucking great.
Yeah. No, I watched some of it, and I kind of thought that I'm like, this is interesting. Like, you know, because I when I think of the Comedy Store Live podcast that they've done, you know, obviously Kill Tony and some of the other ones, and Sean Pulaski's a friend, so I watched her
like social media meltdowns
and
funny shit.
Yeah, super funny, and then I'm like, you're talking to her about like sobriety, and I was like, oh, this.
Yeah, and it's like people, and like I love her. I loved the conversation. I was like, there are people who probably tuned in and think I'm some sort of fucking Nanette. Weird ass, like, no, it's not about, comedy isn't about the laughs. And it's like, no, yes it is. If people aren't laughing, it could be a great performance, or it's not comedy.
You should be like, I went off the rails on this one, it's fine, we'll get back to what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, so like, and I had put it under the society and culture umbrella under the podcast categories, because even though most of the episodes end up being at least a little humorous, it's like a lot of comedian guests, or like I end up, you know, just riffing and cracking a few jokes. I didn't want to ruin the potential for like getting good, interesting information by like having my like this own sort of pressure on myself to like, oh, I better make it funnier. People are expecting funny.
Yeah. No, it's kind of cool to have something that's sort of outside the box, you know.
Yeah, I think I like doing that. I think it's like even if it's just for my own, like, I don't know who I am, like sanity thing, and like, I don't want to just be a clown.
You have the other one, you know,
I'm a person. I'm deep.
I'm multifaceted. I can talk about buttholes and brains
and country music.
If you want a serious episode on Nick, what is it that you had the problem with that one time?
Erectile dysfunction?
No, erectile dysfunction, but the other side.
Anal bleeding.
No, not anal bleeding, but that's
yes. No.
We were on a sex podcast for colon awareness week or rectum awareness week or so. What was that for?
It was like
colon awareness month is in March. Was it in March?
No, it was like anal August. It was their own thing they made up or some shit.
Oh wow.
It was
anal awareness August.
It was prostate awareness month. It wasn't anal awareness.
Whichever that is.
I have prostate, no idea. So basically the same thing.
It's prostate. June, which is Pride Month. Yeah, it's the same.
And, we had this whole discussion about where your prostate is, and we had to clear up some inconsistencies with what Nick thought his prostate.
Greg brings this up like I got it completely wrong, but I was like,
yeah, it was in your nose.
No. That's the thing. Greg is saying this like I was like, oh, your prostate's like in your ear, right?
Of course not.
I hear it.
I just thought it was closer to the outer rim of your asshole. I didn't know it was as deep as it was.
It is. I thought it was like. So the G spot is not also the prostate.
So no. So the prostate. What would
maybe the male G spot.
That's what I'm saying. The male G spot.
Yeah.
I thought that was implied, but I guess not. bad
I
assumption.
didn't think Nick thought the prostate was in his ear. I knew where Nick knew the prostate.
Yeah, Greg tries to make me look bad here, but I was like, oh yeah, it's like right there. But it's like, oh no, it's actually 3 inches deeper. I was like, oh, sorry.
I thought a prostate exam was like 2 fingers in and they go, doot, doot. Okay, it looks good.
Yeah, I have no idea.
No, you got to
You know, you must know.
You got
Greg knows.
I'm not trying to make him look bad. That's not why. It's just funny because it led to him being aware of the whole point of this thing was to be on Prostate Awareness Month, and he now became aware of more stuff related to his prostate. It was the purpose was served. Is the point
dude,
I'm trying to make.
You're in the age range where you have to get it checked. Okay?
I know.
Yeah. Have you been getting your prostate examined, Greg?
By me.
I can tell you,
social distancing.
Yeah, you can't. That's
we do it through Zoom. That's how we would do it.
Oh my God, there are doctors who like take appointments through Zoom. Do you think anyone's like doing a
at-home prostate exam?
Like, no, just get on the chair and just spread your butt cheeks. It's fine. I'll get a look in there.
They're like, I've got hemorrhoids. Like, all right, turn around.
OnlyFans got started.
Yeah. It's a true.
No, I'll tell you what. I did have to one time. Like, I don't know. This is like 10 years ago. I had to have some exam of that sort without being too graphic, and it was very violating. Like, no, it wasn't a colonoscopy. It was like a hand.
No, he was in Greenwich Village in a men's bathroom.
Someone put a whole hand in your butt?
It felt like it. I walk into the exam room, and there's like like I'm sure when you go to the girl doctor, there's all these tools and apparatus.
Yeah, where you put your head. Did you have to put your feet in stirrups?
No. So there's all this machinery on a tray, and I'm like, that fucking better not be for me. Like, that doesn't look fun, right? So I get in, the doctor comes in, and he had the biggest jar of Vaseline I've ever seen in my life.
That's so funny. He's like on a tub. He's like, don't worry.
He goes, just lay on your side. This is going to be a little uncomfortable. And I'm like, okay. So he did his thing. It was a little more than a little uncomfortable and disgusting.
Wow. Did you come?
And then Greg got
afraid of that because one of my friends who had something done, he was like, you better hold on to it because there's a chance you're gonna blow something. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, what the fuck? So I was so like mentally in a weird place after that. I immediately went to the shopping mall, which was around.
Immediately deleted Grindr on his phone.
No. I went to the shopping mall and I stood outside of Victoria's Secret for like 5 minutes just to make sure I still had it. Like, I'm like, okay.
So you're like, did I want to fuck the doctor? Does my dick still work?
What? Did this change me forever? And then the answer was no. And I got back.
You got thrown out for sniffing underwear in Victoria's Secret, like, sir.
Like, no, I'm trying to stay straight. I just had this weird exam. And they're like, get the fuck out of here, man.
I'm old school. And they're like, sir. It's also, I've had to have a doctor put a finger in my butt before. It doesn't matter why. It was a thing, and I was like, just check that my butt's okay. I feel like there's no good position that you want. There's no good way to be like, time for the finger in the butt. But I don't know if they made you like lay on your side in the fetal position. But I'm like, this is sad.
Yeah, it was kind of like.
This is like, and now you're fingering my butt, and I'm like.
Yeah, I would do a power stance.
Be on all fours.
Not even. Yeah, I would just
like,
be power
like
stance.
An animal.
Yes, wide, and I'm just gonna bend over the table and I'm gonna make this face the whole time. Be something like, get in there.
To do it that it puts stuff in the right position to make it less comfortable, or the most comfortable, the least comfortable thing could possibly be. And I don't know. It was. I'm still traumatized. So anyway, Nick, that's why me and you were never getting married.
Whatever, dude. I'm
over you. Sorry.
And just so that Nick can prepare, like in retrospect, do you feel like it would have been wise leading up to it to maybe like start putting in a small butt plug, just like the week ahead, and just sort of grow it?
Yeah,
little bit leading up.
Jessica gets it, dude.
I don't think that would actually have had any bearing on trying to get a basketball-sized apparatus in like a key ring size hole.
I hope that it at least made you respect the women in pornography that I'm sure that you've both consumed. It's
funny. I've
never watched porn.
Me neither. I've heard things.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, in Greg's day, you had to go get a VHS and like bring it.
Yeah,
back.
there's a whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
To go in the woods and find like an old magazine.
Order Girls Gone Wild on DVD.
Girls Gone Wild. What happened to those people? That
A lot
guy
of
was like, I made an
lawsuits.
industry.
A lot of lawsuits. That's what happened to those people.
You know, I'll
For
tell you,
sure.
I was one of those people back when that shit came out that, you know, it's like, get this for free, you know, like the Columbia Record and Tape Club. So I ordered it, right? So I get this one DVD, and then I swear that I canceled it. I'm not a sucker. And I had those DVDs showing up to my office for like 5
That's
years.
so funny.
Yeah. And
Can you let me know if I'm on any of them, if you still have those? Because there was an incident in college that I feel like it's probably out there. And I only got $80.
We all, you got the high side.
I mean,
Anyway.
Oh my God.
Spiral to
We covered a lot of stuff today, guys. We did really well. We covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're hilarious, Jessica. You are hilarious.
you guys are hilarious. Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Mostly just me, but yeah, thank you. I
Sure,
appreciate
if that's
it.
what helps you sleep at night, you can hold on to that.
Yeah.
By the way, Nick,
whatever.
you don't end the podcast saying you were the only funny person on the podcast when we have a very well-established hysterical comedian on the other side of this podcast.
I just said she was hilarious. I literally just said that.
And then you said, I'm the only funny one on this podcast.
No, then she said, you guys are funny too. I was like, yeah, I meant the only one out of you and I, idiot.
Well,
not
you
her.
be more specific next time.
Whatever. You fucked up the song in the beginning, so I don't want to talk to you.
You guys are adorable.
I know, all right? Isn't this the cutest thing you've ever seen?
It's the best.
Yeah.
We should change the name to something ridiculous.
I like the name. I was in Vagina Monologues in college. That's a story for another time. It doesn't.
We'll do that. We'll do that next time.
We'll do that next time.
Anyway,
but don't think of me. Don't let that be the last thing you remember about me, people.
Oh no, it's good. The last thing we're going to think about is the country western song. So
I've done this to myself.
We're gonna tell everybody to find this country western song and all your podcasts and all your hysterical bits and stuff on your website. What is the website domain?
Oh, I do have a website actually, jmscomedy.com. But find me also on social media at jmscomedy, all over the different places. I'll post anything you want to see, or it's link in bio.
All that shit. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey,
thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely.
Bye.